Welcome to Planet Marzipan Podcast,
your fish and Marillion podcast,
where we talk about all things in the planet of Marillion and fish. I'm Mezza, and here's my mate,
Craig Houston.
Welcome to another Planet Marzipan podcast. I'm here with my friend Craig, and we're really pleased to welcome Mark Wilkinson.
Hi.
Thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Obviously, huge Marillion link and fish link, and we go back, fans of your artwork for years and years. I'm sure you've told the story before, but how did you originally get involved with Torchlight and the band?
It was an overheard. Well, I'm sure everyone knows the story.
Apologies if you're tired of wheeling it out.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Well, I mean, I was, 4 years out of art school, I suppose, and almost sort of given up the idea of designing record sleeves, which is what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was sharing a house in Penge at the time, which was used for script, actually. I used the interior of that house in Penge for the reference for the room in script. But anyway, we were a house full of designers, really. I mean, there was I think there were four of us in the house, and the other three were graphic designers. Two of them worked in Covent Garden, and one night Chris overheard a conversation in a bar in Covent Garden, and it was obviously Joe Moravsky from Torchlight talking to another art director, and he was saying he'd just literally come back from a meeting at EMI. They'd signed this new band. He didn't mention them, but he was looking for a new artist. He said preferably somebody that's not been seen before, somebody new, somebody who's got a different way of looking at things, and let me know if you can think of anybody, because I'm looking at portfolios this week. I mean, that was the story, which was like a gift.
Yeah. So
I mean, my friend Chris wrote down literally on the back of a beer mat, Torchlight, Joe Moravsky, and the beauty of yellow pages, I found them and rang, and he said, "Can you come in this week?" I said, "I can come in whenever you like." So I think I actually went in on the day that I rang. It was that quick. And Joe really liked the portfolio, and he said, "I'm definitely going to put you forward for this, but there are a few other artists that they're looking at portfolios." Anyway, so then he called me back and said, yeah, they're interested. But as you're a bit untried, what we've agreed to do, or what they would like you to do, is they will commission you to do the first 2 singles, maybe 3. I can't remember. It might have been 3. And if the band like what you do, then they will commission you to do the full album.
Right.
So that's how it started.
Yeah. And the direction for the Market Square sleeve, did that come from Fish?
I don't know who it came from. I mean, my brief then at that point came from Joe, and he had some notes written down. They want this jester character. He showed me, did he show me or did he describe? I think he may have described the Saliva Tears poster that they'd had done. He said, that they'd like to keep that continuity somehow with an eye, the Eye of Horus, that sort of thing. So maybe that came from Fish, or the rest of the band, I don't know. Do something special with the eye. And they want this jester character appearing behind a mask. So maybe that will give you the opportunity to create a really sort of crazed eye. And I said, well, can you elaborate a little bit? What do you mean by crazed eye? So is it the Eye of Horus? Oh, no, not that, but just do something weird with it. So at that time, there was a lot of excitement about Polaroid photos and what you could do when they were developing. You could squidge them around. Peter Gabriel had done it, but other photographers were playing around with that as well. And I'd read in a magazine, Zoom magazine, which is a magazine for photographers, about how to do it. As the photograph is developing, it's sort of sandwiched in a sort of a plastic film over it, and you've got a very brief window of about a minute to just, with your thumbnail, just squidge it around. So that's what I did. I took a photograph of my own eye. Well, it's my wife, my then girlfriend, took the photograph, and then I squished it around. So that was the reference for the eye, and then come up with the jester.
I think that's it. The eye and the nostril particularly are really, you're drawn to that in that image.
Yeah.
And obviously that, the band loved that, and there was the start of a long relationship.
Yeah, and it was your first one as well, wasn't it, John? You were straight there with
yes,
with Market Square Heroes from the get-go.
You bought that, did you?
I did. I'm old enough to have been around following the band since '82. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely old enough.
It was the guy. I used to go to a record shop in York all the time, and it was the old, you like Genesis, don't you? You'll love this.
Oh, really?
And thousands of pounds later, I'm still here. So
yeah, I didn't really. I didn't know. I had no. Did you? I mean, I'm interested. You guys are obviously hardcore fans. Were you aware of this sort of first or new wave of progressive rock music that was happening at the time?
Yeah, the 12th Night, IQ. Yes, I was. Yeah, I mean, living in York, I didn't see those bands. I kind of bought the vinyl direct from the bands. So, yeah, I was kind of aware of that.
Because I wasn't. I had no idea. And
I remember reading in the Mask that you weren't really a fan of the music, were you, initially?
No, not particularly. I was never a fan of Genesis.
Yeah.
Or Yes, but a huge fan of Pink Floyd, member of the fan club right from the early days when Syd Barrett was still with them. And big fan of bands like King Crimson, and a huge fan at the time of krautrock, especially Can and Tangerine Dream, and people like that. And the new emerging sort of bands like The Cure and Joy Division. But I really was not aware. I don't think there was anything in any of the music papers, was there, about this?
I think Sounds and Enemy kind of picked up on the band late '82, round about the time of the EP.
Oh yeah, '82, but not earlier.
Not prior to that, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I was aware of IQ. 12th Night was definitely around that time as well. But but living in York, they didn't really come here.
Right.
And I'm too young for all that stuff.
In
82, 83, I was like 10, and I was into Star Wars and things and stuff like that. So that was where I was at.
Oh, well, I sort of, I bought lots of records. I had a big record collection, and went to see lots of bands, and was aware of most things. But that totally, escaped my radar. I did not know. The bands you've spoken about, I know now.
Yeah,
IQ and 12th Night, and Galahad as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, Palace, Galahad, all of those.
Of course, Palace, yeah.
Solstice.
Yeah. Well, they go right back, don't they?
Solstice. They do, yeah. And when did you first see the band live?
I first saw them at the Venue Club in Victoria. Would that have been 82? Maybe
yes,
81, I don't know. So I'd done Market Square Heroes, and so Joe. So the news got back to me. Yeah, they really like it. Would you like to meet the band? They're performing at the Venue Club. So I met them that afternoon. Sound check time. So they were there were four of them there. Fish was late, and he arrived more or less as I was leaving. They all seemed to be quite happy. I remember Fish saying something like, "The guy looks a bit too old."
How old were you at that stage?
Well, how old was I? Yeah, indeed. I said, "Well, that was me." So thanks very much. How old was I at that time? Late 20s, early 30s, I guess. Right. So he wanted the character to be a bit punky, a bit disturbed in some way. I mean, it was just manna from heaven for me.
Yeah.
I've been doing book jackets for, I mean, some of them were pretty good. Dinar Kuntz, I don't know whether you know him.
Yeah.
Did a few things for him, and the very first Morse book.
Did you?
Yeah, I did that. The Dead of Jericho, I think that was cool. And various science fiction things. But a lot of horror stuff seemed to be coming my way. VHS video sleeves, there was so much of it, though. You just get one done, and then there'd be five more sort of to line up, and they were all, werewolves, and I thought, Jesus, how much of that can you really? Yes, I met the band at the venue, and I saw them play. But then we scheduled a meeting at Torchlight the following week or so to talk about. No, the next one I did was He Knows You Know, and then I met the band.
Right.
And Fish had a big list of items to put in this room. The rubber plant, which never made it the first time round.
Yeah.
The picture of Ophelia, and which wasn't Ophelia actually in the end, but the TV set. A really sort of grungy bed sit.
Yeah.
This guy was a struggling writer. The Jester just happened to be, a bit psychotic, bit of a loner. And he dressed up in, Jester's clothes, but don't make it look too fantasy.
Yes.
We want there to be an element of realism. I mean, how much you could make that look realistic. So the setting was very realistic. It was my bedsit. It really was that. And apart from the really grubby mattress, it wasn't quite that bad.
I love the choice of the records. Bill Nelson, Do You Dream in Colour?
Oh, I was a huge Bill Nelson fan.
I still am.
Yeah.
He's such a talent.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was lots to sort of pour over, and we were still in the 12-inch vinyl at that stage. So you really could sort of get lost in the sleeves and the artwork that you were doing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that was the point. I mean, for me, that's what I grew up on. Record shops in when I was growing up, but for me were like art galleries. You would go in there and you would listen to them, but there'd be a new batch of albums come in, and you would look at the covers. 12-inch square. It was a perfect size to really get lost in the artwork, and that's something that I was desperate to get into if I could. But I had an agent when I left art school, and he said it's really hard to get into that world. He didn't really know anybody. His background was more in book publishing, but he knew the art director at A&M, and I remember going to see him. I remember going to see John Pash at Chrysalis, Polydor. Was it Chrysalis? He was the guy that designed the lips for the Rolling Stones.
Oh, really? Okay.
And he gave me a job for Judy Zook.
Oh, yeah.
But it never got used.
Oh, shit.
I don't know whether she didn't like it or he didn't like it, but it never got used. So I was always sort of darting around the record companies, knocking on doors, never taking no for an answer, but it was pretty tough. And I think I was very close to giving up. Had Marillion not come along, whether I would have carried on, I don't know. I was thinking about maybe, I don't know, retraining or doing something, because I'd had 4 years of it since leaving art school. So they came along at exactly the right time. for me. And
I think EMI had clearly seen what had happened with Maiden, because that predated it. So they kind of got a blueprint there.
Yeah.
And your images match with Marillion's music.
Yeah.
You know, was a recipe for success as well, to go in the same direction.
Match made in heaven, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might have been somebody's suggestion, you know, that it had worked so well for Maiden with Derek Riggs, and Derek himself has said that actually in an interview, that you know, kind of opened the doors for people like me and Patrick Woodruff, who worked with Palace, and various other people. Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic brief. I mean, there was so much detail to put in there. I didn't have very long on it. 3 weeks, maybe.
Really?
Yeah, 3 weeks, which for me is incredibly fast. So I was working, you know, day and night to hit the marker, you know.
I think in the early years that the short turnaround seems to be a bit of a theme, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because trying to do 3 singles, an album, and then all of the tour material.
Yeah.
It'd be a hell of a workload.
Yeah, and I mean, don't forget, I had no experience of this sort of world at all at that time. I mean, all those doors that I'd been knocking on for the previous, you know, 2 or 3 years with my portfolio, and you know, this was before the World Wide Web, and you know, your portfolio, my portfolio was massive. It was an A1, may even be bigger, which I made myself. Actually, I thought that might be something that I could go into, because I couldn't find a portfolio case big enough to hold my paintings. So I made one, and I covered it in leather or leatherette, and I took it into the London Graphics Centre in Covent Garden, and they said, "Where did you get that from?" And I said, "I made it." "Oh, could you make some for us?" And then I found myself doing that for quite a while. I mean, there was a design group called Yellowhammer, for example. So they wanted yellow leather on the portfolio case, you know, to match their. So I thought, oh, maybe this is what I should be doing then, you know, because there was certainly more money in that than anything that I've been doing. So yeah.
So when did your view on the music change then? Was it around the first album or a bit later?
Bit later with Fugazi.
Right.
I mean, I quite like Script, but I never dreamed that they would. That you'd be talking to me, what, 40 years
later?
I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to think, but I thought they'd be around for one album and that's it. I mean, I thought it was okay. I thought it was a bit of a tinny production, and I hope
live they certainly had more sort of a punky edge to them.
Yeah. Now live, I really enjoyed seeing them live, but on record, you know, didn't do that much for me. But Fugazi, I loved.
And I think Ian joining the band.
Oh, it
elevated things, didn't it? Yeah.
Chalk and cheese, wasn't it? Really. I mean, the sound had so much more power. And the first song I heard was Assassin, which I loved. I loved the sort of Eastern influences. And I thought Fish's lyrics were a lot more honed down, you know.
Yeah.
Everything had gone up a notch for me. And it's still to this day one of my favourite albums of theirs, especially Incubus. I mean,
and we reviewed it 2 or 3 weeks ago. Have you heard the remix?
Yeah.
That, I mean, it's a great album anyway, but Pete and Ian have really been brought up in the mix, I think. It just gives it much more of a live feel.
Yeah.
And was the brief, you talked about the brief for Script, was there much input from the other 4 members of the band, or was it all sort of Fish?
It was all Fish, really. Certainly for Script. Fugazi, I then met them at Nomis rehearsal rooms, which was sort of adjacent to Bravado, the merchandise company. So Bravado did all I Maiden stuff, and they were delighted, you know, because I think Marillion at the time very, very rapidly became like the number 2 band in the country for selling merchandise. And So they were keen to use me in other things. And then that's when I was used a lot by them for the Monsters of Rock. And then Judas Priest saw that, and, still working for them.
I know, yeah. Priest and Maiden, yeah.
Priest and Maiden, yeah, that's right. So, I mean, as I said, 40 years later, I've never had to look for work. And it's all because of that overheard conversation, from...
Some things were meant to be.
Yeah, maybe.
Can we talk about the clutching at straws sleeve?
Do we have to?
Maybe not. Quick conversation.
Well, misplaced childhood you should talk about, really.
Absolutely, let's do that.
Well, that was the big one, of course. I mean, that broke through so big, and that was a fascinating time because of using Robert Mead, the son of the publicans who ran the pub next to me, the Rose and Crown, and went with him to Berlin to film the video for Kylie, and met Chris Kimsey at Hansa Studios, and I don't think I'd heard anything at that point, because were we talking about the album? Maybe we were, but when I heard the music, my God, it had really jumped up. Again, each album they seem to exponentially get more impressive.
Yeah. The stuff they played on the Farewell to 84 tour, which is effectively side one of Misplaced,
it
was so exciting hearing them. You just felt we were going up another level.
Yeah. I mean, I'd got a lot of pals, that we used to go to gigs together, and big Floyd fans and things like that, and they were a bit sniffy about Marillion to begin with, and I think when they heard Kylie, I had a call from a friend of mine, and he said, well, they've really done something different with this one. I think this is going to be a hit, isn't it? And I said, I don't know, is it? I love it. But the landscape at the time for pop music, rock music, was very, it was moving in all sorts of different directions, wasn't it? Queen and what have you. So to see it rise up the charts, almost making it to number one, was fantastic, with the single, I mean.
Yeah. And then the album went to number one as well, didn't it?
Yeah, the album went to one. Yeah.
And a lot, because obviously with successful singles and bigger tours, there's more sort of extra images to create for the merch, presumably.
Yeah, I mean, it never stopped. It really didn't. I mean, the phone was going constantly. Usually John Arneson saying, no, you can only have 2 days on it, not
I need 3 T-shirt designs by tomorrow.
It was T-shirts, but it was also, I mean, because they were getting bigger, they started playing much bigger venues. So Bravado wanted to do tour brochures, and in those days, it's pre-computer. It was all paste up.
All right.
Cowgum, and going to typesetters. It was. And that all takes time, to lay it all out and cut bits out and doing overlays and playing around with spot colours, and it was a real learning curve for me, because I'd never done anything so intense before, where the deadlines were so hovering over me all the time, and it would be a case of the phone would ring and no, put that to one side. This is now more important, that we're doing Milton Keynes or something, so put the tour brochure to one side and do that. And they now want a calendar. Oh, now there's a Dutch company that want to do something special for, so can we do something, the head is just spinning.
Was that, you were just working for Marillion at that point because of the workload, presumably?
More or less, yeah. I was doing other things as well. I remember I'd left the first agent I had, and I was then with another one called Aircraft, and they specialised in airbrush art, because the airbrush was really, really popular in the late 70s and early 80s in particular. I mean, God knows how many books published, how-to books, step-by-steps. And, I was in a lot of those, and met a lot of other airbrush artists. And, I mean, it was really in demand in advertising. I mean, that's where the big money was. If you were a freelance illustrator, doing ads for anything. I remember doing a Lemsip ad, for example, and I had to do a big sort of nuclear explosion thing in the style of Walt Disney. That's one I remember.
You would remember that, yeah.
You would remember that. And the other one, an oil rig. I had to do an oil rig and stuff like that. But the phone was ringing so much, that I just had to make a choice. Do I go this way or do I continue with? I mean, to be fair to aircraft, they started to get me some really well paid work.
Yeah.
And they'd ring up. I mean, what was one of them? I had to do a portrait of the Queen Mother, I think.
Really? Of all things.
And of all things. And I said, no, I can't do it. I'm busy. And, this is for a really prestigious, thing. And I don't know what it was for. Well, what are you doing then? And I said, well, I'm working for this band called Marillion. Yeah, but that's not going to last long, is it? I mean, if you keep turning work down for
the royal family,
you'll get passed by, and somebody else will come along. And so it was a tough choice. But I'm pleased I followed it. With Marillion. Yeah.
I think we are. You're a real part of the identity of the band and Fish. It's.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to talk about it, but was the time scale really tight?
Clutching. Yeah. Well, Clutching Straws is my favourite album of theirs. So it was a huge disappointment that the artwork didn't quite work out. And I mean, it was all my own fault really, because we'd done these 3 albums that were very colourful, gatefolds, etc. The sales department at EMI really didn't like gatefolds because you could only get half the amount of records in the car or whatever when they were going to the record shops up and down the country. So I think there was a bit of pressure from the record company. Maybe don't have a gatefold this time. Okay, well that'll make it a little bit different. What else could we do? What about just doing it in black and white? I think that was my idea. And what about mixing it in with photography? I had nothing to go on. It was just, let's try something really different, just for the sake of being really different. And again, this was pre-computer, so it was all collage. I did the illustrations of the characters and literally cut them out and stuck them on a photograph, and it mixed results really. I think the back cover is probably better than the front.
Yes, but you got a chance to revisit it, didn't you?
Yeah, for Prog magazine, and I mean, this story is quite infamous now. So they wrote to me and they dangled a carrot and they said, "How about if we gave you the opportunity to redo that piece of work that you've always said that you've hated?" And so it was great because I had the tools to do it then, and it was a much better piece of work, I think. Don't know what you think.
I've got a T-shirt of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
the new version.
Yeah, because it was used on the Fish tour as well, and then you got to redo the torch image as well.
Yeah,
that for Fish's tour for that, and that's a really really beautiful reimagining of the torch image that you did for that.
Yeah, again, I had a great opportunity to. I remember the conversations flying about between Fish and I. I mean, obviously Misplaced had been so successful, and I think everybody felt a lot more secure. But I think they all took their eye off the ball, including me, with the artwork. They weren't so hands-on. We had a meeting at EMI, and everybody put, it wasn't just Fish then. It was everybody's. What about if we try this? We'll try that. And I suggested getting them down to Colchester and photographing them in a seedy bar, the Baker's Arms, which we did one afternoon to use that as the basis for the artwork. But there was talk from Fish about he'll remember this a lot better than me. Is it the Ghost Rider?
The Ghost Rider. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. I don't know why he was thinking about that. He was talking about having a sort of a spirit guide for drinkers, the silver-haired boy at the end of the bar or whatever. And he could be a bit of an angel, and think of the Ghost Rider. Maybe that was another idea they had for an album. Was it? I
think I seem to recall that he was trying to convince him to do either a covers album or a part covers album.
It was a covers album.
It was based around this ghost driver, and using the title Geistfahrer.
That's right, Geistfahrer. Yeah. So I did a bit of research, looking at the Wagner's Valkyrie, the Black Angels, and with the feathers, and some of the costume designs for Ride of the Valkyries, and I think that's where the idea for the costume came from, which Fish didn't thank me for when he had to wear it.
Yeah, look warm.
Very, very hot.
The reimagined image is on the front of the booklet in the Clutching reissue.
Yeah.
In the 12-inch format. It looks stunning.
That's how it should have been. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. I'm far more happy with that.
And the cocktail glass, was that ever considered to be the front cover of Clutching?
Fish really liked that, and I think he did want that for the front cover. I think everybody realised that I hadn't made such a good job with the collage, and I don't know. Maybe Fish liked it, and the rest of the band didn't. The cocktail glass, I can't remember, but yeah.
On a similar theme, then, I presume. How did you feel about the Thieving Magpie sleeve and being asked to do that? Presumably, that was again a tight turnaround.
Yeah, it was, and I'm not crazy about that one either. I'm my own worst critic, so it didn't work.
I like it. I love the album, and it was really.
I love the album. Yeah.
But I think the sleeve is part of it. I think it for me it feels great. I was really upset about Fish leaving, but it was great to have this sort of memento of the tours.
So what did you think then when Fish left the band?
I have a mini story which I've already wheeled out on this podcast, but I didn't find out he'd left. It was announced on the Friday Rock Show, and I got the train to Liverpool to buy tickets for the Christmas shows on the Saturday morning. I went to the box office at the Royal Court, and the guy said, "The gig's off, Fish has left the band." And I wandered around Liverpool for an hour in complete disbelief.
Yeah.
I was really upset. I have to say, it all worked out fine because Steve Hogarth's doing a fantastic job, and I'm still following Fish. So, you kind of got two acts for the price of one. But after Clutching, if they could have kept it together, we could have been talking sort of Pink Floyd level, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because wasn't it Bob Ezrin interested in producing the next album?
Yeah.
But for me, I'm a Johnny Come Lately. It was Vigil and Season's End, which actually got me into Fish and Marillion and Big Time. And then I went back over because a friend of mine tried to get me into them back when I was like 10 or 12 years old, and scripted nothing for us. I was quite liked Fugazi, what I'd heard from it. I loved Misplaced and I'd loved Clutching at Straws, but I didn't become a proper fan of the band until the split. And it was Vigil and Season's End who really got me into the band, and then I went back over.
Yeah.
So I'm saying Johnny Come Lately.
Yeah.
Was there any?
I mean, it came completely. It was a shock to me. I mean, I was there that afternoon when at Fish's place because we were there to talk about the next album after Clutching. It was a pretty horrible atmosphere, I have to say, and I think Fish should give me some idea that he was very unhappy. Yeah. I think he called me up with his with his leaving note, more than a note. Read it out to me on the phone, and I said, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" Because I just get thinking, how many frontmen leave bands and make a real go of it? There are examples, of course, there are.
Yeah,
Sting and Peter Gabriel and what have you, but. It is a lot harder if you don't have the brand name.
Yeah.
And that's what Roger Waters found, didn't he, to begin with?
Oh yeah, I mean, when he was out solo, I mean, I think there's a story about him playing in was it New York or somewhere, and Pink Floyd were on tour at the same time as him. I think it was around about Radio Chaos kind of time, and
right.
A Momentary Lapse of Reason, and he was playing like a 3,000-seater theatre, and they're out filling enormous domes.
Sure.
And there was a definite bitterness he had there. But thing is, when Fish went solo, when he came out of the gate with Vigil, I mean, that is just an absolute stunning album, and still one of my favourite albums of all time. And that sleeve is one of my favourite sleeves of all time. You know, it's something. It's like I say, what with John there, with Script being his, foray into that. With me, it's Vigil, and that iconic cover for me, and the inner gatefold sleeve with the hill is just, to this day, still one of my favourite pieces of album artwork ever.
Set myself a task with that one.
Yeah.
Was that
as I seem to do throughout?
Well, there's a theme to this, Mark, isn't there? Yeah. Was that cut and paste, or was that?
Oh no, I know it was mostly airbrush. I mean, some of it is collaged in.
The
refugees on the back cover, and bits and pieces, just to help me out, because it was a nightmare. I think even then I spent about 5 months on it.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous. I mean, the record company would just, are you mad? Well, why are you spending that long? Well, I don't know. I just set myself I had a vision for it, and it just kept getting more and more detailed. I mean, I just worked and worked and worked on that. And I think it looks overworked now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. But I didn't think that at the time. I was immensely proud of it. But looking back on it now, I think it's a bit overworked.
I still love it.
I love it as well.
Yeah.
Was the State of Mind? Were the State of Mind images finished before the album sleeve for the single?
Yeah, I think that was. Yeah. I think we were a bit unsure about what we would. He didn't want another character that was going to go through his solo career. He was done with that. I mean, we'd got the idea of the hill of consumer goods, with the Porsche at the top and the smaller objects at the bottom. That was the idea. And then this idealized romantic couple that are standing on top of the hill, and they're looking into the far distance, not looking down at the people they've had to maybe stab in the back to get where they were at the top of the pile. Do you know what I mean? That was, I think some of the characters, one of them does have a knife, sort of stabbing somebody in the back. That was all. This was all part of the list again. That Fish always has a list. Put that in, and
we'll not mention Mark Kelly and John Arneson hiding down the bottom.
Yeah. Mark always thought that was Fish's idea. It was actually my idea, and I don't really know why I did it. It certainly wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be contentious. It wasn't meant to be a dig at them particularly. I think did Season's End come out first?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did.
So
the held Vigil back.
I saw the jester sort of dumped into a pool or something. Yes. I thought, okay, you bastards, I'll have a go. So I think maybe that was me. And when Fish saw it, he went, "Oh, I don't know. They're not going to like that." And I said, "Oh, well, it's just a bit of fun." But Mark in particular really took exception to it. So
did they? I think they repressed it, didn't they? Or they changed it.
Yeah, I had to paint over the faces in the end.
Yeah,
but the first pressing has still got the.
It was a good touch.
Yeah, I saw. I mean, I've seen Mark since, and he has a bit of a laugh about it now. But I don't think even he knew that it would. All that time, he thought
it was Fish.
It was Fish, it was part of the list. And I said, "No, Mark, that was me." You? Why? And I said, "Because you dumped my jester into a pool of water." And I can't remember if I said that, but I think that was. It was just a bit of a laugh, really,
Yeah,
Are you getting to touch up any of the images for the reissue that Fish is doing for next year?
Well, that's interesting you should say. I had a text from him just before before I came on, and I'm speaking to him tomorrow, but that's about some other things as well. I would like to do something special with it, because I think it's going to be a big one for him. And,
yeah.
The trouble is, this is the year that I'm supposed to be semi-retired, and I've never been busier. It's just crazy. And so I've got to try and tell him tomorrow that once again, the sword of Damocles is swaying above me, and Christmas is not so far away, and I've got a big deadline on something else. So, but I don't think he's planning that anyway till next year.
Yeah, because he's doing Vigil and Internal Exile at the same time. Yeah. So you're just gonna have to figure out how much you can do.
Yeah,
and presumably is there some artwork for the final tour as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's sort of in hand. Sure.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah. Be a few little surprises there.
Well,
I'm quite pleased. You're the first people that I've spoken to about it, and obviously I'm not going to reveal anything. But
no,
just to let you know that I'm pretty pleased with it. What I've done so far.
Brilliant. I have to say, the mask image in Weltschmerz is just fantastic. It is amazing. Really sort of rounds the jester off. It's such a fantastic image.
Yeah, well, I went back to using the airbrush with that, of course.
Yeah,
that is a big painting, and just to see if I could still do it.
you can. Yeah,
I really enjoyed it, and I mean, I sort of had it in my mind that if I do ever semi-retire, which my wife keeps telling me you will never stop, that's what I'd like. I want to go back to doing paintings again, and but not for anyone necessarily. Just I've just never had time, to just stand back and do something for me. Just maybe see if I get an exhibition or whatever.
How busy are you with Maiden, for example?
I've stopped now with Maiden. For no other reason than it just takes up again, I mean, it's off the scale with them. It really is. So much work. That last one on and off for about a year. And you sort of think to yourself, well, how many years have I got left? I don't want just working for one band for a year is a tough call. And it's very well paid and everything. Even so, artistically, I just want to move on in some way, and try and find something else.
I don't particularly follow Maiden, but why was the change from Derek Riggs to yourself? Do you know? Or can you say?
I don't think I'm talking out of turn. I mean, they had a big falling out.
Oh, right, okay.
Big falling out. Over artwork,
Yeah.
He did something way back, a piece of work which they weren't particularly keen on, and he obviously spent a long time on it, and he was, I think he was a bit hurt, and they wanted him to more or less start again, and I think he then said, "That's it, I'm not doing any more," and so then it was a few different artists, wasn't it? There was me, and anyway. But I've decided I'm not going to do any more, and I don't think I'll do any more for Judas Priest either. This is probably the last one I'll do for them.
Right, but they're very successful albums, aren't they? Obviously.
Yeah.
Because am I right in thinking that Weltschmerz was the first time you kind of prepared images for Fish that he wasn't exactly what he was looking for?
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Okay, I'm trying to be politically correct, but yeah.
Well, I mean, when Weltschmerz was first talked about and the artwork was first talked about, it was a year or so before I actually started working on it, because I was ill, and I had to have quite a major operation, which could have gone one way or another. And I remember him calling me up and saying, now got a timeline on this, and can we get this done for, booking in a tour, usual stuff. And I said, Fish, I'm not going to be able to do it. I have no idea at the moment whether I'm going to have a recovery time of 4 months or 2 years, and it was that, fortunately it was the former, but it could have been the latter. And so I said, I'm not going to commit to it. I don't want that hovering over me as I go to Addenbrooke's,
Yeah.
And he said, oh, God. And I said, look, I'm sorry. He said, oh, no. I'm not saying, oh, God, because of that. Well, that's it. Then we'll put the album back. There's no way now at this stage of my career, possibly my last album, that, I'm going to find somebody else. I'll wait for you. So,
wow.
But when you're sitting in the chemo ward for 6 hours a day, as I was, you do a lot of thinking. And I thought, well, I'd like to do a painting again for this, and use it somewhere. And B, I'd like to try again different techniques.
Yeah.
Obviously not a black and white photograph with collage on it, but
You've done that.
Yeah, I was quite keen on learning a 3D program, which a friend of mine had shown me, and it's supposed to be very intuitive. And oh God, it's like the upward curve on that was ridiculous. It took so long. So I managed to learn so much with it. I'm much better with it now. But these were early attempts, literally my first attempts at using it's a program called ZBrush. And so the first thing I did was the single, or the EP.
Parley with Angels.
Parley with Angels. That's right. Your memory is better than mine. And Fish was okay with it, but he didn't love it. And I said, don't worry, I'm learning all the time. So the next time we had a meeting, I took, some more examples, and he just didn't like it at all. It wasn't what he wanted. He wanted a much more organic approach. It's not what the album was about. I could do a much better job now. Yeah. But then it was still, pretty rudimentary. And to be honest, there's a lot of work like it around. So it wasn't very unique. So although I was really proud of it, I was only proud of what I had managed to learn with this new program. As a piece of work, taking it out of that, it wasn't great. I freely admit. So it was a case of going back to the drawing board, literally, and coming up with, but fast, because I'd wasted 5 months maybe, again, just trying to develop a new technique, new skills, and what they say with anything new, don't just practice for the sake of it. Try and learn something to, with an end point in mind. If you're a musician, don't just learn to play the guitar, but try and take it all the way forwards, writing a song or whatever. And it was the same with this program. I really wanted to do something with it while I was learning.
Yeah.
And so Weltschmerz was the guinea pig. And
these book formats, they're fantastic for the fans, but it must be such a lot of work for you with the images.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah, it's insane. 100-page book. Feast of Consequences, it really took it out of me. That did.
Some stunning work on there as well. It was an epic package.
I think that's the better piece in total. But so it's a learning process all the time. You never ever stop learning. There's never a point at which you sort of think, right, I can relax now. I've got a style. The work's coming in. I don't need to look for any work. You can't, because there's something digging away at you all the time. That you want to do something different. You obviously want to improve.
But there's been a definite change in style from album to album. We were just talking before we were talking to you there about Field of Crows and the kind of Van Gogh interpretations of that, the scattering crows and things like that. It's just epic. Really, really, really nice pieces of work.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I mean, that's good to hear, because you never really know. Yeah.
I think it gives the album their identity, though. It's it's not just another album. They've got a visual identity with them.
Yeah.
And that's a mark of your work, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you try.
What have you got any particular album sleeves that you're a fan of? I'm talking generally.
Oh, not my own work.
No.
Oh, yeah. Huge fan of Alex Gray, who does Tool.
Yeah.
I mean, it was his work that got me into Tool. I had no idea who they were. I just, was in the record shop one day and I saw his artwork. I thought, wow, I don't care what the music's like. I'm gonna buy this, and now they're my favorite band. I mean,
right.
Just got tickets to go and see them next year.
I have friends who are into. I don't know a great deal about Tool, but I have friends who are into going to the shows as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the shows are off the scale. I mean, I don't think even Floyd in their heyday, I don't think can
really.
For me, it's the best
show
I've ever seen. I've only been to one. I missed the tour before, but his artwork anyway is astonishing. Absolutely. Yeah. And I knew his work actually before, but didn't pay as much attention to it. So that again is an example of having a record sleeve, and you see this work in a different context. I mean, the other one that I really loved is Abraxas for Tana.
Yeah. It's funny. We interviewed Lucy Jordache a few weeks ago, and we were asking her how she first heard about the band, and basically she liked the sleeve of Market Square Heroes.
Yeah,
so she bought the record for the sleeve to annoy her brother.
Yeah,
and then. That's how it was in those days, wasn't it? You'd flick through the rack, and if you always wanted to buy a record at the weekend, if there was nothing particular you were looking for, you'd buy it for the cover.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember the album covers more than I can the music. I mean, I know their names. Rick Griffin, who did some of the Grateful Dead stuff, and Michael English, Hapshashing the Coloured Coat, who did. Spooky Tooth before they became Spooky Tooth, they were called Art.
Oh right, okay.
They hated. They changed their name pretty rapidly to Spooky Tooth. I don't know whether that was an advantage or not, to be honest with you. But I love that band. I still do. I've got the box set of all their recordings. Bands like that don't come along very often. I think they were very, very special. But the artwork that they had was just stunning, and. I mean, incredible string bands, first or second album, 5,000 Spirits, done by the Dutch collective called The Fool, who did the Apple mural, for the for the boutique for the Beatles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I bought all these albums for the artwork, and I don't play Grateful Dead. I was never a big fan of the Grateful Dead's music, but I've got most of their albums because I love the artwork. Crazy.
Yeah, well, is it really?
Well, some people think it is.
Yeah, I mean, you can't see this backdrop. I'm surrounded by CDs and records in here, so you just, it is what it is. Have you got a view on Marillion tribute bands using your artwork?
Yeah, I don't mind. If they ask. It's all. It's done from a point of respect. I think it's obviously done for a point of
recognition. Yeah,
brand recognition too. Yeah, I'm not naive enough not to realise that. But if they ask, it's when people use it and don't ask. Which I often get fans writing to me and saying, can they put a tattoo of my artwork or use a piece of my artwork for a tattoo? Well, you don't need permission for that. But if a band go out and start selling T-shirts, using my artwork, then you do need permission.
Yes.
So have you had any thoughts about doing any new books since Shadow Play's out of print and so is Masters out of print? Because it's...
I have actually. In fact, I am doing a book next year. First 2-3 months for about not just of my work. It's and that'd be another 100-pager. I'm going to manage that either. So yeah.
It's been a long time since Mask, I think.
Yeah.
I think I bought my copy. It must have been one of the, when it first came out, of one of the fish weekends in Haddington, I think. Yeah. Way back when.
Was that the one that I did the demonstration for?
It was.
Yes, yeah.
You've got the website with the prints available still?
Yes, prints available, cards.
Nice Christmas presents.
Perfect Christmas presents.
Stocking fillers. Actually, the playing cards are going very well at the moment. And out of all of the artwork that I've ever done, it's still Marillion that seems to be the most popular. So, in terms of the prints,
yeah.
So
come on, plug the website, Mark. Plug your website.
Yeah, well, www.mark-wilkinson.co.uk. So I've just changed it actually the last couple of years. My daughter redesigned it for me.
It's very pretty.
Yeah.
It's a nice website.
Yeah, and it's good. I've got an online shop for the first time, which makes life. I always thought, you see, when Tosh was doing my website, and I think he mentioned an online shop, and I said, no, I think the fans would probably prefer the personal approach, and they might like to write to me, and but it turns out no. The online shop is been working far better for me than the personal touch. So yeah.
You mentioned earlier on about the possibility of some kind of exhibition, if that could happen.
Yeah,
that would be great.
I would like to, but I'd like to do some more work for it. I don't just want to, do the old stuff. I'd like to come up with some new work. But how many years I've got left in my eyesight, I mean, I've no idea. But I've certainly got an ambition to do that, and maybe another book of my work too, to bring it all up to date. I'm going to Bologna next March. Somebody I know, I designed. He's got a big record shop there, and he's very involved with the big record fair that they have in Bologna every year. So he's asked me to design the poster for that. So I'm going to have a little exhibition there, but that will be my prints and things.
Yeah.
And then later in the year, Norway. There's a prog festival there, and a friend of mine organises that. I've been there for a few years. I haven't been for the last 2 or 3 years, but because I've been too busy. But Bloodstock as well. I mean, I had a few pieces in the gallery there, and that is a stunning festival. Really is. You probably won't like the music, but it's not prog. Although Opeth headlining next year.
Oh yeah.
But Paul Gregory, who's a wonderful, wonderful artist, he started that festival in a hall somewhere, I think, in Derby, and it's the biggest privately run music festival in the country. It's always winning awards. It's brilliant. But he has an on-site gallery, showing his own work, but he also invites other artists to display their stuff too. So I've had my work in there a few years.
I don't know what. Obviously, Derek's not announced his plans for the final tour, but if there were to be a final Fish or Haddington convention, might that be something that you would appear at?
Yeah, I would, and I keep on at him about doing that. But it's a lot of work. It's a hell of a lot of work, for him to, not for me, for him to organise, and that's always been the stumbling block. But it would certainly help out with all the touring buses and everything else, the travelling.
Yeah.
Maybe he will consider it. I don't know. I honestly
missed the Haddington weekends.
Yeah, they were great, weren't they?
Yeah, really good.
And it was great to meet all the fans and have all these, the quizzes and all that stuff.
What was the Haddington weekend in 1994? How me and John met.
On
the train on the way up there. Yeah. So again, random meetings, and you end up being kind of best friends with somebody for nearly 30 years.
I hear this so often. I really do. And I think Marillion aren't unique. I mean, Maiden as well. I'm Maiden fans. They're very close-knit. I love really nice people. And, the Bloodstock crew as well. It was the same faces every year when I go there. There's something about it, isn't there? Belonging to a tribe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it is.
When is the Bloodstock Festival? What time of year is it?
August.
Right. Okay.
I think it's the 10th, something like that next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can really recommend it. It's a really great festival. It's a lot of cosplay, you know, and it's a really fun place, and the people are just so friendly.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, Mark, it's lovely to talk to you. You know, you've been very generous with your time. We could talk. You've so much work. We could talk about lots of other things. You know, you work with. You did some stuff for Kylie.
Yes.
And your notorious Peter Gabriel.
Robbie Williams.
Yeah, your notorious Peter Gabriel poster.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he really liked that. His tour manager didn't. You know the story that she drove. I can't remember. It was Gail. Somebody. She drove.
Gail Coulson.
That's it. She drove her car into a fence or something. She saw it in Germany, and anyway, so she wasn't too happy with it.
It's a great image.
Yeah, seemed like an obvious thing to do as well.
Yeah.
You know, with the coloured eyes behind them. Yeah.
Yeah, behind the so image. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really clever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really clever. Yeah. What's your favourite piece of work that you've done?
Well, Marillion wise, The Fall, I think, is because I wasn't under any pressure on that one. It was a fan in New York that commissioned a painting. He said, you know, well, I asked him, what do you want me to do? And he said, reimagine the script. So that was the idea, to find a new angle on it, much the same way that I did with Clutching at Straws.
Yeah.
And so I just went for it, and there was no pressure at all from him, and I had complete freedom. And that's why I want to, you know, do more of that, you know, do more of my own work that isn't a brief as such. Though that was, you know, the Jester,
but it was quite a broad brief, wasn't it?
It was a broad brief. Yeah. So I think that's probably my favourite.
Fantastic.
It's the poster. It's the print I sell the most of.
Is it?
Yeah, easily the most popular, more than script, which is probably the second.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, look, your work has been throughout my life, Mark, and you know, long may it continue. More power to you. You know, on a whim, you've made a life out of this. It's amazing. A life's work.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Just that overheard conversation. I mean, God knows what would have happened to me had that not happened. I may have ended up, you know, on the end of the aisle at B&Q, probably.
That's too close to home. I've worked at B&Q. That's too.
Oh, Christ! Really?
Yeah. I mean, the documentary about yourself on the Weltschmerz Blu-ray is. You know,
that's nice. Great. That's nice
really,
stuff.
Really nice, an honest piece of work. It's
you
know, you look like you've had a torrid time, but thankfully you appear to be in great health at the moment.
Oh, so. yeah, I'm fine. Yeah,
but brilliant.
Well, thank you, guys. You made it very easy for me.
Well,
thank you.
I can talk to you for hours, but Mark, thank you very much. We do value your time,
and we'll hopefully see you on a tour around somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Take care.
Thanks, Mark.
Take care, Mark. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheers. What a lovely guy.
Yeah, really nice. Thank you for listening. It's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Take care.
And stay alive.
Thanks for listening to Planet Marzipan Podcast. Please like and subscribe from whichever platform you get your podcasts from. You can contact us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com and check out marillion.com, fishmusic.scot or fishmusic.eu for all the good stuff.